Hello guys and welcome back to another video from our series Tal versus Botvinnik World Chess Championship of 1961, the rematch. So game number 3 was won by Botvinnik and this is game number 4, and this time Tal is with the white pieces and Botvinnik is with the black pieces. So I think Botvinnik will try to draw this game, and Tal will try to win it. So without further ado, let's start it. So Tal opens with e4 and Botvinnik replies c6, the Caro-Kann defense, d4, d5, and e5. In the previous game, in the first game, Tal, uh, Tal did go for knight f6 and exchange this pawn, but here he kind of pushes e5 and maybe blocking black's development, as this knight can't be developed. This bishop, this pawn also shouldn't be allowed to push forward. So blocking the black's development, to which Botvinnik replies c5, giving up the pawn but also breaking this support of this pawn. So this can be picked by knight f6 and knight e5. So Tal takes d cross c5 and e6, knight c3 and knight c6, bishop f4, protecting the pawn, and knight e7, as knight can't be developed on f6, so developing a knight from here, and knight f3, knight g6, and bishop back to e3. So knight cross e5 and knight cross e5 and knight cross e5. So exchanging one pair of knights, and queen h5. Uh, Tal just going for straight away attack, and to which Botvinnik replies knight c6. And Tal goes for a queen side castle and bishop e7, developing the bishop, and f4, launching the pawn attack straight away. Idea being f5 and just opening up the position, as black king is still in the center, and to which Botvinnik replies g6. So queen to h6, blocking the castling, and Botvinnik bring back the bishop f8 and queen g5. So queen cross g5 and pawn f cross g5. So Botvinnik successfully is able to exchange queens, a6 and knight a4, bishop d7 and f4, bishop f4, and this bishop f4 is a really crazy idea. You will just see. So Botvinnik replies h6, and now knight b6. So attacking this bishop, and only way to protect is by bringing the rook. And why this bishop was developed on uh, f4, because of the next move. So feel free to pause the video and try to find out why. So simply bishop c7, and kind of taking away all the squares from the rook, as all the squares are covered by the knight and bishop. So trying to trap the rook, and but Botvinnik still wins some pawns for the rook. So h cross g5, and Tal don't take away simply first c4, and Botvinnik replies d4, maybe not opening up the position by taking it, and simply pushing the pawn, so now the position remains closed, and to which Tal replies b4, launching the pawn storm on the king side too, and bishop g7. And so now finally Tal takes the rook, bishop cross d7 and king cross bishop cross d8 and king cross d8, and now b5, uh, attacking the knight. So knight back to b6. You can't really take over here, because this will create very strong pawn for white, and also this after the knight moves. After the knight moves, this pawn would be also weak. Not right now, but eventually it will fall. So knight back to b8 and bishop e2, f5 and bishop f3, a cross b5 and c cross b5, and bishop cross b5. So that also gives our this pawn, maybe try to uh, and bishop cross b7, so winning the b7 pawn. So king c7 attacking the bishop, and to which Tal replies a4, and Tal maybe try to complicate things, and maybe thinking that Botvinnik will blunder anything, but Botvinnik do play the best move in the position, that is simply bishop cross a4, knight cross a4 and king cross b7. Maybe Tal was thinking that Botvinnik would bring back the bishop, or maybe bring back the bishop over here, and this would ended. Maybe this would have ended being Tal in a better position, but Botvinnik plays the best move. And now king d2, knight d7 and rook b1 check, king c6, blocking the pawn so that pawn doesn't march forward, and to which Tal replies rook h to c1, bringing both the rooks, also supporting the pawn. You can't take with the knight, otherwise knight will be pinned. Bishop e5 and d3. Tal is up the exchange, but still the pawn advantage. But still the black has a pawn advantage. So anything can happen, and if we see engine is giving -2 to black, and rook a8, rook b6 check, and trying to give away the uh, rook for the knight, maybe thinking. So knight cross b6, but Botvinnik plays the best move. Knight cross b6 and a pawn cross c cross b6, and discovered check by the rook, and king d8. Knight c5 check and king e7. Rook e1 attacking the bishop, and Tal replies rook a3 and king c4, and now kind of Botvinnik goes rook c3 check, but this is kind of this kind of a move which allows Tal to bring his king over here. The better move here was just to bring the rook over here and protect the bishop, and try to exchange the rook. But Tal plays rook c3, and that allows black to uh, allows black king to reach to the pawn. And now Botvinnik plays rook e3, but now Tal doesn't exchange the rook and plays rook a1. So bishop cross h7 and rook a7 check, and in this position both the players agreed to draw. Yes, why draw? Because maybe uh, just because the position is completely equal. Botvinnik has pawn advantages, but the pass white pawns makes the position equal. And we see engine evolution. Engine also shows 0-0, and maybe that's why both the players, because there is no way to stop this pawn, and uh, after this move you have to kind of give away the bishop for the pawn, and maybe then you will enjoy a piece advantage and try to win the pawns on the king side. But in this position both the players agreed to a draw, and game number 4 ended in the draw. Hope you all guys like it. Don't forget to share, leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.